money production process is largely kept secret to prevent counterfeiters from creating high-quality forgeries. However, we have managed to uncover some of the secrets of how crispy banknotes are actually produced, and we will tell you about it right now. Despite the fact that production processes are automated in the 21st century, the production of money is still largely done manually. For example, when producing the American dollar, the work of special engravers is used. They first receive an image of the banknote created by designers, make a print on an iron plate, and then begin to cut out the required image on it. And this is truly a jeweler's work. The depth of the incision should not be thicker than a human hair. Thus, iron plates are obtained, with the help of which money is already printed. However, manual engraving is not a whim, but an important tool for protection against counterfeiting. Firstly, it immediately reveals which banknotes were not printed using engraving, but were simply made on a printer. The lines on the fakes will be smooth and continuous, not intermittent and textured like on real banknotes. Secondly, if someone decides to fake the iron plates for printing, it will also be noticeable, since no person is able to reproduce the work of another with 100% accuracy. Therefore, the pattern on the plates for printing banknotes is unique and unrepeatable. An additional means of protecting banknotes from counterfeiting is microscopic words and symbols that it contains. They are also made manually by the engraver, using a powerful magnifying glass. But the American dollar is by no means the most protected currency against counterfeiting. One of the most reliable is the currency of Australia. First, the Australian dollar is not made of paper. Surely you have experienced a situation in your life when you put money in your pocket and got caught in the rain, as a result of which all the money got wet. If so, put a like. This cannot happen with the Australian dollar because it does not get wet. Australian banknotes are made of a material called polymer, which feels like wax to the touch. While dollar bills and most other currencies look more like paper, Australia was the first country to introduce polymer banknotes in the late 1980s. Such banknotes last longer than paper ones. And now let's go back to the process of producing banknotes. After the printing plates are ready, the printing process can begin. However, special paper is delivered to the factory before that. Despite the fact that American dollars feel like paper in your hands, in reality, it's not so. The material for banknotes is made from recycled cotton and linen, and even jeans. The same watermarks that you can see by holding the banknote against the light are originally made on paper during its production. They are printed afterwards, and the process of producing watermarks on banknotes is classified because these marks are one of the most important elements that distinguish real banknotes from fakes. So always inspect large banknotes against the light to be sure whether you have real money or not. After the material for printing banknotes is ready, it is tested for strength on special machines. If the paper starts to tear, then the whole batch is destroyed. If everything went well, then huge sheets are sent for cutting. There, small square sheets are made from them, and then 32 banknotes are made from each sheet. A specialist inspects these sheets again, and at this stage, he can reject the entire batch. If the batch is approved, it is sealed in boxes and sent to another production facility, where the printing will be applied to this paper. The printing process requires incredible precision. First, using an iron plate, on which the master manually engraved the image, plastic plates are printed in several copies, so that banknotes can be printed en masse. A specialist checks the plastic plates to make sure that there are no defects, and that the depth of the engravings does not exceed the norm. Then, using the plastic plate, another one is made of nickel, and only then, using the nickel plate, the printing process begins. The banknotes are printed on both sides simultaneously. The printing must be precise down to the millimeter to ensure all details are in their correct positions, and the design remains intact after cutting. After the ink is applied, a special security strip is added to the banknotes. Machines use a strong press and high temperature to attach this strip to the banknotes. Today, this feature can be found on almost all banknotes in different countries. The strip may differ slightly depending on the country, but it is an effective method to combat counterfeiting. On one of the final stages of printing, a special hologram is added to the banknotes. This feature is also present on most high-denomination banknotes in different countries around the world. It is created using a special ink that allows the image to shimmer. After printing, the banknotes are perforated or have microscopic holes made in them. These holes are easily visible when the banknotes are held up to the light. The absence of these tiny holes may indicate a counterfeit. Sometimes, countries become so engrossed in the process of protecting banknotes from counterfeiting that even ATMs cannot recognize completely genuine banknotes. This happened in China in 2015, when the country released a new 100 yuan banknote into circulation. The banknotes had multiple security features and were so high-tech that at first, China's ATMs could not recognize them. The government had to issue a statement saying that it would take a few days to update the machines to recognize the new currency. The final stage of banknote printing is the application of a special serial number on them. Each banknote has its own unique serial number, which can be used to track the banknote. Counterfeiters often do not bother and print the same number on all banknotes. It is often the serial numbers that become the main way for detectives to track down counterfeit money. All real banknote numbers are recorded, as well as the numbers of counterfeit banknotes found are entered into a special database. If a match is found with this database, then the banknotes are fake. By the way, have you noticed that all banknotes in absolutely different countries around the world are horizontal? The exception is the new 10 Canadian dollar banknote. It has a vertical pattern on it. These banknotes are also made of polymer, not paper, which allows them to last longer. All banknotes in different countries around the world gradually change their design, materials, and other details. This is done for one single purpose: to protect against counterfeiters. After all, as we know, counterfeiting money began immediately after they appeared. For example, more than 3,000 years ago, shells were a popular type of currency. Yes, you heard that right, ordinary mollusk shells. But they worked on the same principle as modern money. People agreed that these shells had a certain value. They could be used as a means of exchanging goods for other goods. In some parts of the planet, shells were used as currency until the 19th century. Of course, shells started to be counterfeited quickly. It was not so difficult to do this. Other shells or bones were used for this purpose. Replacing shells, metal coins came into use. The heavier the coin, the more valuable it was. Counterfeit currency was made by a simple principle. It was made of a cheap metal and coated with a more expensive one. To distinguish a counterfeit coin from a genuine one, it was enough to weigh them. The counterfeit weighed less. Another way to counterfeit coins was to trim the edges of coins made of precious metals and make new ones from the resulting material. Thus, the original coins gradually became smaller and smaller over time. In the 17th century, Great Britain came up with an effective way to combat this type of fraud. The famous ridges appeared on the edges of coins, called the milled edge. The ridges are still made on most coins today, making it impossible to trim the edges for melting. Although the first paper money appeared a long time ago, in the 10th century, they only gained widespread use in the last couple of decades. However, no matter how sophisticated the means of protecting banknotes are, counterfeiters still manage to counterfeit them. For example, in the mid-1990s, high-quality counterfeit $100 bills appeared in the United States. It was difficult to distinguish them, largely because the quality of the paper was very similar to that of genuine banknotes. And as you may have already guessed, the process of making paper for banknotes is not that simple. After all, paper is one of the most difficult elements to counterfeit. Later it was discovered that, by an amazing coincidence, the paper used to print telephone books, called yellow pages, was very similar in quality to the paper used for dollars. Therefore, counterfeiters began using it for production. By the way, have you noticed that cashiers in stores or bank employees have special devices that glow under ultraviolet light? This is not by chance, because ultraviolet light allows you to distinguish a fake. And the reason is the paper. If you put a counterfeit bill under ultraviolet light, it will glow evenly, while a real bill will either not be visible at all or only its individual parts will be visible. It all depends on the country of origin. Unexpectedly, one of the most protected currencies from counterfeiting is the Vietnamese dong. For a long time, There was a problem with counterfeit money in the country because previous versions of currency were not reliable. After several changes, the Vietnamese dong is now one of the most complex banknotes. The large number of designs, microprinting, security lines, and other features make the Vietnamese dong one of the most secure currencies in terms of counterfeiting. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting. Also, subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell icon to stay up to date on new videos. And of course, share this video with your friends.